The case for a 0% allocation to bonds in retirement is an article that one of y'all had sent to me. So I'm looking forward to reading this. Tim Keating, an in-depth case study on how volatility does not equal risk. I will see. Let's take a look at what old Tim Keating is saying here from Colorado Biz. Dateline October 8th, 2019. All right, so let's dive into this. I haven't read this article, and whoever sent this to me, mucho gracias. Should you use your age to determine your asset allocation? No, we know that. Tim says no, emphatically. Using some simple simulations and predicated on the critical assumption that a retiree has set aside 2 years of living expense in cash, we make the case for zero allocation to bonds in a retiree's portfolio. Okay, so far so good. I don't like the only 2 years of cash though, but if you have no liabilities, then the corresponding allocation to equities should be 100%. Simulations showing how various portfolio allocations perform for someone retiring at a stock market peak, such as 2000 and 2007, can be misleading and can favor bonds for two reasons. First, the unprecedented 30-year bull market in bonds beginning in the mid-80s, during which interest rates dropped from 15% to 3%, has fully run its course. Total returns during this period skewed far from their longer-term averages that they are useless guides for prospective returns. Second, these simulations typically apply the 4% rule as the amount of the portfolio that can be liquidated annually, meaning equities are sold automatically under all circumstances. A reserve approach is a better solution to effectively solving what is known as a sequence of return problem. Setting aside 2 years' worth of living expenses enables the suspension of equity withdrawals if a steep or long bear market strikes relatively early in retirement. Yeah, but 2 years isn't enough. All right, let's keep going now. So, okay, I got that. In modern portfolio theory, MPT, risk equals volatility as measured by the standard deviation of returns. From a theoretical perspective, the issue boils down to a simple question. Do you believe the central underpinning of MPT, that volatility and risk are one and the same? We do not. I agree with that, actually. In the case study, we provide a different perspective and definition of risk. This definition of risk is derived from two core principles. One, money is purchasing power, and two, the safety of an asset class is its ability to preserve purchasing power over time. Oh boy. So I got a sneaky suspicion where we're going here is stocks for the long run argument that stocks are always less risky than bonds in the long run. Oh boy, this is not good when you factor in inflation. I have a huge issue with that. And just real quick, why? Because the long run is never achieved. You're always in the long run. Always in the long run. Thanks, Pablo. Remember, Pablo barks. Make sure you paw the like button. It's okay, buddy. I have the windows open. It's a nice fall day here in North Georgia. I got the windows open. We got some wind going back and forth, and so the air is it looks like ghosts are in the house. It's pretty funny. The air is moving stuff around. It's funny. So Paul's like, "Where is this coming from?" All right. So in the case study, so to maintain purchasing power and assuming the cost of living increases at 2.25% a year, and I'm right here, by the way, due to inflation, a 65-year-old spending. All right. So to maintain purchasing power and assume the cost of living increases by 2.25% every year. Any takers where we're going wrong with this? All right. A 65-year-old spending $100,000 per year after taxes would need $149,000 at age 75, $187,000 at age 85. And $233,000 at age 95. This is a quantification of longevity risk, an increasingly common concern, and ignores the accompanying potential peril of an increase in inflation. Oh my goodness. Let me just keep crying, dude. No one who's spending $100,000 at 65 spends the exact same amount at 95. Where's what's that guy's name? Scott. Scott says he hates when I make these voices. Yeah, man, I don't care. I have fun. And when you're having fun, you don't care. It's fun. All right, let's keep going. Oh, there goes Pablo. The door's opening. Where's Kim Davis? She hates Pablo. So we got Scott, who hates my voices. Kim Davis hates Pablo. I checked the comments. Using financial planning software, we ran simultations to compare the hypothetical ending portfolio values for 3 different asset allocation strategies. For your own retirement, you'd want your financial to run these scenarios based on your. Okay, I don't understand that. We beginning by making a series of assumptions. James and Penny Bond are married, both 65, good health, and recently retired. Based on their actuarial joint life expectancy, the Bonds need their money to last for 30 years to 6 to 94. Well, that's not. There's no actuarial joint life expectancy that says that, but okay. We further assume that James and Penny each have $1 million in retirement account for a total of $2 million schmackes. Their annual living expenses are $120,000. They received $24 in combined Social Security income. If they have $2 million in IRAs, they certainly are going to get more than $2,000 a month in combined Social Security income. I'm not trying to bash this guy, but this is just, I can't take it, man. They have no other assets or liabilities. Their annual income, we already talked about that. Finally, we assume their net rate of return of intermediate bonds and stocks are 5. We assume their net annual rate return of intermediate bonds and stocks are 5 and 9% respectively. The tables accompanying each scenario below detail their inflows and outflows, all right, taxes and expenses. The corresponding ending portfolio values displayed in 10-year increments until death. Okay, so let's see here. All right, the 100 minus age rule of thumb is, okay, so here we got 40% stocks, 60% bonds, 6.6% net hypothetical return. And their net values are, they're depleted in 2046. So they're 92 if they have, what is this? Scenario 1, okay. 40 stocks, 60 bonds, okay, there we go. Scenario 1, 40% stocks, 60% bonds. They ran out of money in 2046. That's basically 2 years before they died. Okay, that's 100 minus age rule of thumb is intended to systematically reduce portfolio risk by steadily increasing allocation of stocks over time. All right, well that's dumb. Don't ever do that. All right, so they ran out of money in 92. That's not the worst thing ever happened. Okay, but all right, scenario 2, 60% stocks, 40% of bonds. 7.4% net hypothetical return. Let's see. Their ending value is $755,000 at 94. That's basically 30 years. Here we flip the allocations. They end up with a final value of $755,000. Their money outlives them, but just barely. No. 90 to stocks, 10% cash, and 8.3% hypothetical return, and they got 2.6 million. I can't take it, man. Bond return assumption is more than double current yields. Based on research from Vanguard and Malkiel and looking over 10-year rolling periods from 1906, we know that 90%. Well, I agree with this. 90% of subsequent returns on bonds are explained by their initial yields. All right, well, good. That's exactly right. So the U.S. Aggregate Bond Index it has a yield of 2.14 on August 30, 2014, whereas in our scenarios, we assumed a net bond return of 5%, more than double current yields. But why do you? I mean, I agree with that, but why would you assume that, man? It just doesn't make sense. This doesn't matter. I find that to be bad. Why would you just? Look, I'm not trying to bash this guy. I think he's trying to do a good job here. This stuff is so elementary, and why would you do that then if you're going to give double the rate of return on bonds? Why that doesn't make sense to me. And then on top of that, okay, does he say what he's using? He's using, what did he say, 9% thing for stocks? So I mean, he's using. Okay, so he talks about how bonds are way undervalued or are going to have much lower yields than what he's using in the portfolio. But then he shows stocks. What do you say with stocks here? 9%? Yeah, 9%. What? I mean, this is why financial planning software is just junk in, junk out. Anyway, I don't agree with it. I mean, I kind of agree. It just, uh, I got nothing else to say. I don't know what to say on this. It's just the silliness of financial planning using just numbers that are just non-existent in terms of so many different things. We're going to spend the same amount of money for 30 years. We're going to live for 30 years. We're going to double the rate of return on bonds, even though we recognize the bond rates are yielding 90% of our allocation of our expected rate of return on bonds can be determined by current yields. And we're still going to use that in the financial planning software. We're going to use 9% for stock returns. No, I don't know what else to say. This is and then we're only going to have 2 years cash. All right. I'll let you guys determine it. I'll put a link in the show notes if you want to read this. I just find this to be, I don't like it. All right, we'll see you guys.